11:03 local time, Strait of Hormuz. The water is glass. A thin haze sits low on the horizon, the kind that blurs the line between sea and sky. Inside the Combat Information Center of the USS Nimitz, the air is cool, recycled, and humming with the quiet frequency of a ship that has done this 1,000 times before. Radar sweeps pulse across screens in slow, methodical arcs. The tactical action officer stands at his console, coffee in hand, watching the familiar geometry of commercial traffic threading through the world's most contested waterway. Everything is routine. Standard transit, nothing unusual on scope. The Nimitz moves at 18 knots, 97,000 tons of American naval power, displacing water in a bow wave you can feel from a mile away. Her strike group fans out in standard formation. Destroyers forward, cruiser to port, logistics ship trailing at distance. The formation is so practiced it looks effortless. It isn't. At 11:07, the E-2D Hawkeye orbiting at Angels 22 picks up 3 surface contacts, bearing 275, approximately 84 nautical miles to the northwest. The contacts are moving in formation, tight formation. No AIS, no transponder, no identification. Moving on a direct intercept line with the Nimitz. The Teo sets down his coffee. Slowly, he doesn't look away from the screen. Track them, he says. That's when this day changes. 11:09, local time. 84 nautical miles. The E-2D's crew refines the tracks within 90 seconds. 3 distinct surface contacts. Warship displacement signatures. The lead vessel is large, frigate class or heavier. The 2 flanking ships are smaller, faster. All 3 are running without any navigational broadcast, which in these waters at this hour means one of 2 things: equipment failure or deliberate concealment. The CIC crew on the Nimitz pulls the data fast. Their SPY. One radar, one of the most capable surface search systems ever built, begins painting the contacts with increasing clarity as the range closes. Hull profiles emerge from the noise. The lead ship is identified within 4 minutes as a Slava-class guided missile cruiser. Russian Northern Fleet markings, operating far from home waters. The 2 escort vessels are Udaloy-class destroyers. Both carry anti-ship missiles. Both carry helicopters. Both are designed specifically to hunt and kill carrier battle groups. That combination matters. At 11:14, the watch officer notifies the captain. The captain arrives on the bridge within 2 minutes. He reviews the tracks without speaking for a long moment, watching the geometry evolve on the tactical display. What's their heading? Direct intercept? They've been on this course since we picked them up. The captain nods once. He doesn't order a course change. 11:17 local time. 79 nautical miles. The Nimitz strike group has by now established a full tactical picture. The Russian formation is moving at approximately 22 knots, fast for a deliberate patrol, deliberate for a combat sprint. Their spacing is 800 meters between vessels, a tight wedge with the Slava at the point and the 2 Udaloys bracketing her flanks. This is not accidental geometry. This is a rehearsed formation. The Combat Information Center sends the first advisory to CENTCOM. Routine notification. 3 Russian surface combatants. No AIS. Intercept heading 79 nautical miles. The response comes back in 7 minutes. Acknowledged. Continue mission. Document all contacts. The Nimitz does not change course. At 11:21, the radio operator makes the first contact attempt. International Maritime Distress Frequency, Channel 16. Standard hail. Ship to ship. Unknown surface contact bearing 275. This is United States Navy warship on your starboard bow. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. Silence. The operator waits the required interval. Hails again. Different frequency this time. Silence again. That silence matters. 11:26 local time. 67 nautical miles. From the bridge wing of the Nimitz, nothing is visible yet. The contacts are well beyond visual range. But on the screens in the CIC, the geometry is becoming harder to read as coincidence. The Russian formation has not deviated from its intercept course by a single degree. Every time the Nimitz's heading adjusts even slightly for the natural curvature of the straight transit, the Russian formation adjusts to compensate. They are being tracked. The Nimitz's own surface search radar begins painting the Russian hulls with active emissions, a deliberate signal that they are being monitored, logged, and cataloged. This is standard procedure. It is also a message. We see you. We have always seen you. At 11:29, something else appears. High above the Russian formation, At Angels 18, a single slow-moving contact enters the E-2D's radar picture. A helicopter. Russian naval markings based on its electronic signature. It is flying a pattern consistent with a camera platform. Russia has brought a film crew. That detail matters more than anything else that has happened so far. 11:33 local time. 58 nautical miles. The intelligence picture sharpens rapidly. The Nimitz's electronic warfare suite, passive and silent, is intercepting the Russian formation's internal communications, not the content, but the frequency patterns, the timing intervals, the rhythms of a naval force coordinating a complex maneuver. What those patterns describe is not a unit stumbling into an unplanned encounter. What those patterns describe is a unit executing a briefed operation. Someone planned this. Someone authorized it. Someone gave these 3 ships a mission, a timeline, and a camera to record the result. The result they planned for was not this one. At 11:37, the Nimitz's captain calls his department heads to the bridge. He speaks for approximately 90 seconds. He explains the situation without embellishment. He gives his orders clearly. The Nimitz will maintain course. The Nimitz will maintain speed. The strike group will follow standard rules of engagement. Document, hail, respond to aggression proportionally, but do not escalate. They want footage, the captain says quietly. We'll give them footage, just not the footage they came for. 11:41 local time. 48 nautical miles. The distance is now inside what naval planners call the decision threshold, the range at which intentions become commitments. Below 50 nautical miles in confined waters, a course change is no longer a casual adjustment. It is a statement. The Russian formation makes no course change. Neither does the Nimitz. On the flight deck, activity that was already continuous becomes more deliberate. FA-18 Super Hornets on the forward catapults are spotted and chained. Their crews are not yet in the cockpits, but they are close. The ship's combat air patrol, already airborne, tightens its orbit slightly, not noticeably from the outside, but the geometry shifts. The arcs get smaller. The response options are preparing themselves. At 11:44, the E-2D crew reports a change in the Russian helicopter's behavior. The camera platform, previously flying a lazy orbit above the Russian ships, has now moved ahead of the formation. It is positioning itself for a forward-facing shot. The shot it wants is the Slava-class cruiser in the foreground, and the Nimitz, enormous, unmistakable, presumably backing down, in the background. The shot it will get is something else entirely. The camera is already running. It just doesn't know what it's about to record. 11:49 local time, 39 nautical miles. The Udaloy on the Russian formation's port flank increases speed by approximately 3 knots. Its track tightens. It is sliding slightly ahead of its previous position, beginning to form what analysts would describe as a leading bracket. The maneuver is subtle enough to be deniable. It is also unmistakable to anyone reading a tactical display. The Russian formation is beginning to open into a blocking geometry. The TAO marks the maneuver in the log with precise timestamp and bearing data. He notes the speed change. He notes the new heading. He says nothing dramatic. He doesn't need to. CENTCOM advisory 2, he tells his operator. Formation is maneuvering with intent. Confirm ongoing documentation. That phrase, maneuvering with intent, is the most significant thing said in this room so far. 11:54 local time, 29 nautical miles. The geometry is no longer subtle. The 3 Russian ships have spread into a line formation. The Slava at center, the 2 Udaloys extending to port and starboard at roughly 200-meter intervals. The line is perpendicular to the Nimitz's heading. If this formation holds, and if the Nimitz maintains its course, the carrier will reach the center of the Russian line at a range that makes the word blocking not a metaphor but a literal description. The closing speed between the 2 forces is now 38 knots combined. Every minute that passes removes almost a nautical mile of decision space. That number matters. At 11:57, the Russian Slava's fire control radar activates. Not a targeting lock, not yet. But her forward-facing surface search radar shifts from passive to active, painting the Nimitz with deliberate emissions. This is above and beyond navigation requirement. This is a weapon system warming up its eyes. The Nimitz's electronic warfare suite logs the frequency, the pulse interval, the waveform characteristics. Every parameter is time-stamped and archived. In the CIC, the electronic warfare officer looks up from his console. They just went active fire control search, sir. Logged? Logged? 11:59 local time. 25 nautical miles. The Nimitz's vertical launch cells, 122 of them, sit quiet and sealed. The weapons are not armed for engagement, but the systems monitoring their status are running at full fidelity. Every cell is green. Every system is nominal. The ship is not threatening anyone, but every person who understands naval warfare, looking at this tactical picture, understands that 97,000 tons traveling at 18 knots does not need to arm its missiles to communicate a message. The message is the ship itself. On the Russian camera helicopter's feed, being transmitted live in real time to what would later be confirmed as Russian state television, the Nimitz fills more and more of the frame. Her island superstructure, her deck crowded with aircraft, her bowway visible even at this distance. She has not slowed, she has not turned. The camera keeps rolling. The story it's telling is not the one its operators planned. 12:04 local time, 18 nautical miles. The formation tightens. The Russian Slava reduces speed by 4 knots, a deliberate move to let the two Utiloys push slightly ahead, hardening the line. The gaps between the three ships decrease to approximately 900 meters. They are close enough now that from the bridge wing of the Nimitz, with long-range optics, individual hull numbers are becoming visible. The officers watching through those optics say nothing. They are watching crew movement on the Russian decks, sailors in orange safety gear, a gun mount rotating, not elevating, just traversing. The deliberate motion of a crew that knows it is being watched and wants that to be visible. This is theater, but theater at 18 nautical miles is not safe. 12:07 local time, 14 nautical miles. The CPA calculation on the TAO's screen shows a number that causes him to stand completely still for a moment. 1.8 nautical miles. If both formations hold their current course and speed, the closest point of approach between the Nimitz and the Russian Slava will be 1.8 nautical miles. In open ocean, 1.8 nautical miles is uncomfortable. In the Strait of Hormuz, with commercial traffic threading the lanes on both sides, 1.8 nautical miles is not uncomfortable. 1.8 nautical miles in the Strait of Hormuz is a decision. The TAO initiates the third CENTCOM advisory. The message is brief. CPA projected at 1.8 nautical miles. Russian formation maintaining intercept heading. Fire control radar active in search mode. U.S. forces maintaining course per standing orders. CENTCOM's response comes back in 4 minutes. Maintain course. Document everything. The Nimitz does not waver. 12:11 local time, 9 nautical miles. The Russian helicopter shifts its orbit again. It moves to a position slightly ahead and to the starboard side of the Nimitz's projected path, the optimal angle to capture what the Russian formation's planners clearly expected would be the carrier's course change. The shot was pre-planned. The helicopter is parked in the exact position needed to film an American carrier altering course to avoid Russian warships. It is waiting for a moment that is not coming. Aboard the Nimitz, the captain stands at the center of the bridge. He has not raised his voice since this encounter began. He has not used dramatic language. He has given precise, quiet orders to precise professional sailors. At 12:13, he picks up the radio handset himself. He hails the Russian formation. Again, he identifies the Nimitz by name. He states the carrier's course and speed. He advises the Russian vessels that continued approach on current heading constitutes a hazard to navigation under international maritime law. He speaks clearly, without heat. That calm is not weakness. That calm is the most dangerous thing in this strait. Silence. 12:17 local time, 5.3 nautical miles. The geometry tightens to the point where it stops being geometry and starts being physics. The Nimitz's CIWS mounts, the close-in weapon systems, the last line of automated defense are not firing. They are not tracking, but they are awake. Their sensors are active. Their targeting processors are running. Anyone who knows what to look for can see the subtle rotation of the housings as they maintain situational awareness. On the Russian ships, this is visible through optics. They know what those mounts mean. At 12:19, the Slava's fire control radar does something that changes the energy of this encounter entirely. It shifts modes from surface search to, for a period later measured at exactly 3 seconds, fire control targeting mode, a hard lock. In the Nimitz's electronic warfare suite, every alarm that can sound, sounds. The EW officer's screen lights in red. The tone in his headset changes. The data stream from the Nimitz's sensors reports with complete clarity that a Russian guided missile cruiser has just painted the carrier with targeting-grade radar emissions. 3 seconds. The lock breaks. In 3 seconds of sustained fire control lock, a Slava-class cruiser can complete a targeting solution for its P-1000 anti-ship missiles. It cannot fire in 3 seconds, but it can complete the math. In those same 3 seconds, every system on the Nimitz capable of a response evaluates its options. The CIWS mounts pivot. The SPY? One radar shifts its attention. 2 FA-18 crews on the forward catapults receive a radio call that brings them to immediate readiness. 3 seconds. The lock breaks. The CIC is completely silent for 1 full breath. Then the TOW speaks. Log it, time-stamped, mode, duration, frequency, all of it, and tell the captain. 12:21 local time, 3.7 nautical miles. The distance between the Nimitz and the Russian line is now measured not in planning, but in eyesight. From the bridge of the Nimitz, the Slava-class cruiser is visible to the naked eye, a gray shape growing against the haze, her bow cutting a white line in the flat water. The 2 Utiloys bracket her on both sides, their own bow waves visible now as well. 3 warships, 1 line, 1 course, and the Nimitz, 97,000 tons, not slowing. On the Russian camera helicopter, the operator must be wondering what is happening. The American carrier is supposed to have turned by now. The shot was supposed to already be in the can. The carrier was supposed to blink. It hasn't. It won't. The silence is no longer passive. It is a statement. 12:23 local time, 2.9 nautical miles. The captain gives one order. One order. Launch the alert birds. On the forward catapults, 2 FA-18F Super Hornets receive the signal. Engines, already at low idle, begin spooling upward. The sound changes from background machinery to something with intention in it. Deck crews step clear. The JBDs rise behind the aircraft. Steam pressure builds in the catapult tracks. The sound carries across the water. Far across the water, at 2.9 nautical miles in the flat acoustics of the strait, jet engines spooling to military power are not subtle. The Russian helicopter's camera pivots. The Russian bridge crews hear it before they see it. The sound of American afterburners at full thrust in a narrow waterway is not a sound you mistake for anything else. At 12:25, the first FA-18 leaves the deck. Steam erupts from the catapult in a white wall. The aircraft accelerates from 0 to 165 knots in 2 seconds, rotating hard off the bow, climbing fast and steep with shock diamonds forming behind its engines. The diamond-shaped patterns of supersonic exhaust that appear when an aircraft is being pushed hard. The sound hits the Russian ships like a physical thing. That sound carries far, farther than any radio hail. The second aircraft launches 11 seconds later. 2 Super Hornets, climbing fast, turning north. On the Russian camera platform, both aircraft are now in frame. Whatever broadcast was going out to Russian state television in that moment was not showing what the producers had planned. It was showing American naval aviation operating at the precise edge of what warning looks like before it becomes something else. 12:27 local time, 2.4 nautical miles. The 2 F/A-18s establish a combat air patrol directly above and ahead of the Russian formation. Not aggressive, not threatening, but present and unmistakable and armed. At Angel 6, 6,000 feet, they are low enough that the Russian crews can see the aircraft's weapons loadout with the naked eye. AMRAAMs on the wing stations. The unmistakable profile of American beyond visual range air-to-air missiles. The Nimitz also initiates a VHF broadcast, recorded, time-stamped, transmitted simultaneously on 4 international frequencies. The captain's voice, steady, in English first, then in Russian. Russian naval vessels, this is the USS Nimitz operating in international waters, conducting a lawful freedom of navigation transit. You are on a collision course. International maritime law requires you to take action to avoid. We will maintain our current course and speed. We have documented your fire control radar activation. We are prepared to defend this ship and its crew. He reads the full statement. No editorializing. No heat. In Russian, a qualified linguist aboard the Nimitz repeats the message word for word. The broadcast is archived automatically with timestamp to 3 separate recording systems. 12:29 local time, 2.1 nautical miles. For the first time since this encounter began, since 11:07 when 3 contacts first appeared on the E-2D's radar screen, the Russian formation's geometry changes. Not dramatically, Not completely, but it changes. The Udaloy on the port flank reduces speed by 2 knots. The change is small. It is not a withdrawal, but it shifts the formation's timing slightly, creating a fractional gap in the line's coherence. Small move, real one. In the CIC, the Teao notes it without expression. Port contact reducing speed, logging it. The Nimitz does not slow. It does not alter course. It does not celebrate. 12:32 local time, 1.8 nautical miles. This is the CPA. This is the number calculated more than an hour ago as the moment of maximum danger. The USS Nimitz and the Russian Slava-class cruiser are now at their closest point, 1.8 nautical miles, in confined waters surrounded by tanker traffic with an active Russian fire control lock already logged and 2 American fighters overhead. From the Nimitz's bridge wing, the Russian cruiser is close enough to read detail: her hull number, the arrangement of her weapon mounts, her bridge windows. Her crew is on deck, watching, some with binoculars, some just watching with their eyes. The Nimitz passes, not around the Russian line, not behind it. She maintains her plotted course through the formation's axis, passing 1.8 nautical miles off the Slava's beam, legally, technically, operationally within every boundary of international maritime law. The message is not subtle. We are not moving. You are. The Russian camera helicopter, now off the Nimitz's port quarter, is filming the carrier's stern as she moves away. This is not the shot it came for. 12:36 local time, 2.4 nautical miles and opening. The Udaloy that reduced speed at 12:29 has not recovered its position in the formation. Its speed remains slightly lower than the other 2 ships. The formation discipline that was so precise at 84 nautical miles, the tight wedge, the coordinated line, has developed a visible looseness. At 12:37, the starboard Udaloy alters course 5 degrees to starboard, away from the Nimitz. Small, but real. At 12:39, the Slava herself reduces speed by 2 knots. The intercept geometry, which was so carefully constructed over the past 90 minutes, is no longer an intercept geometry. The closing rate between the 2 formations drops, then reverses. For the first time since 1107, the range is increasing. The TAO marks it in the log. Nothing more needs to be said in this room. 12:42 local time. 4.1 nautical miles and opening. The 2 F/A-18s maintain their patrol for another 6 minutes. They make 2 more passes above the Russian formation. Wide, unhurried, professional, not threatening, just present. Then they are recalled. They return to the Nimitz in sequence. The first aircraft catches the 3-wire at 12:48, its tail hook dragging a brief shower of sparks as it decelerates from 150 knots to 0 in under 2 seconds. The second catches the 2-wire 90 seconds later. Both aircraft are respotted forward within 8 minutes. The flight deck returns to normal operations, as if nothing happened. Because from the USS Nimitz's perspective, nothing extraordinary did happen. The ship did its job. The crew did theirs. The Russian formation, now 6.2 nautical miles distant and continuing to open, has altered its heading. It is no longer on an intercept course. It is on a parallel course, running alongside the Nimitz at safe distance, the position of a vessel that has been watching something and is now watching from further away. The Russian helicopter has altered its orbit to follow its own formation. The frame it was hoping to capture, the American carrier backing down, altering course, demonstrating that 3 Russian warships could redirect the most powerful naval force in the world. That frame was never recorded. What was recorded is different. 12:54 local time, 11.3 nautical miles and opening. The encounter log is complete. Every timestamp, every bearing change, every frequency emission from the Russian fire control radar, including the 3-second hard lock at 12:19. Every radio hail, every course adjustment by every Russian vessel. The flight camera footage from both F/A-18s, the FLIR recording from the ship's own optics, the E-2D's radar archive, covering the complete trajectory from 84 nautical miles to closest point of approach and back. The package is compiled and transmitted to CENTCOM within 12 minutes of the formation's withdrawal. The intelligence value of 3 seconds of Russian fire control radar emissions, recorded at close range in a known tactical context, will keep analysts occupied for weeks. At 13:02, the captain gives his final order regarding the encounter. Log is closed, all stations return to standard watch posture. He does not add anything to that. No speech, no announcement to the crew, no dramatic moment. The lack of ceremony is its own statement. 13:07 local time, 17.8 nautical miles. The Russian formation continues to open range. On the Nimitz's screens, the three contacts are now running in a loose column. The tight wedge formation, so rehearsed and deliberate at 84 nautical miles, has dissolved into the looser geometry of ships returning to base operating posture. The camera helicopter has dropped altitude. Whatever broadcast had been going out to Russian state television, whatever narrative had been constructed around what was supposed to happen today in the Strait of Hormuz, the images being sent home now were not what anyone planned. They showed 3 Russian warships maintaining a parallel course at respectful distance from an American carrier that never moved. They showed American fighters over Russian ships. They showed the Nimitz's stern. 13:19 local time, 28.4 nautical miles. On the tactical display, the 3 Russian contacts are fading toward the northwestern edge of the screen. Their tracks form a clear record. The approach, the line formation, the CPA, the withdrawal, an arc of intent that began 84 nautical miles away and ended with the Russian formation on a heading away from the carrier they came to stop. The Nimitz is on the same course she has been on since before 11 o'clock. Same heading, same speed. The Strait of Hormuz is giving way to the Gulf of Oman ahead. The water widens. The haze burns off slightly as the afternoon sun climbs. 97,000 tons. Unchanged. What happened in this strait today will not make tomorrow's front pages in most of the world. There were no weapons fired, there were no casualties. There was no incident report that rises to the level of international crisis. But in the spaces where naval strategy is studied, in the war colleges and the intelligence assessments, and the quiet offices where people who understand maritime power think carefully about what just happened, today's encounter will be read and reread for a long time. Because what it demonstrated was not what Russia came to demonstrate. Russia came to show that 3 warships could redirect a carrier. That presence equals power. That a line of ships in the right place at the right time could rewrite the geography of American naval reach. What the Nimitz showed was different. She showed that presence is not the same as dominance. That 3 ships in a line, regardless of their intent, regardless of their armament, regardless of the camera positioned perfectly to capture the moment of American hesitation, 3 ships in a line mean nothing to 97,000 tons of professional restraint. The fire control lock lasted 3 seconds. 3 seconds of maximum aggression met with documentation and calm. No weapons fired. No order shouted. No course change. No reduction in speed. Just presence and professionalism. The quiet arithmetic of a navy that doesn't need to raise its voice because the math was done long before any ship left port. Long before any camera helicopter took off to record a victory that was never coming. The Nimitz moves on. The sea closes behind her like she was never there. Except she was. And everyone in that strait today, every officer on every bridge, every radar operator, every camera crew aboard that helicopter watching their broadcast turn into something they never planned to air, every single one of them knows exactly what they witnessed. Control doesn't belong to the side with the loudest provocation or the most rehearsed formation. It belongs to the side that already knows the outcome before the encounter begins, and holds its course anyway, at 1.8 nautical miles while the world watches. That's not arrogance. That's the USS Nimitz. And if you want more naval warfare stories built with cold realism, hard timing, and the kind of detail that decides whether steel floats or burns, subscribe before you go. Because the sea always remembers who noticed the clue first.